All right, so welcome to the Active Fusion AI podcast, where we dive into how AI is reshaping the way companies grow, build trust, and reach the right clients faster. So today's episode is focused on topics that have become increasingly urgent by day: the future of cloud acquisition, data-driven AI outreach, and cybersecurity. The stakes are extra high. It's not just about reaching potential clients; it's also about doing it credibly, efficiently, in a way that builds trust before the first call even happens. So today we have joining us someone who's been ahead of the curve in this space. We have Ken Fanger, co-founder and president of On Technology Partners. Ken brings decades of experience in building secure, people-first systems in manufacturing, healthcare, the government contracts. I think what sets him apart is how he integrates empathy into a field often dominated by fear-based messaging. So, Ken, thank you for being here. Let's start with a quick intro. Can you start off sharing a little bit about what you're doing at OnTap, at On Technology Partners, and the types of clients you guys serve today?
So our primary focus right now is on the new Department of Defense cybersecurity and helping people to be able to continue to work with the Department of Defense, be ready for the requirements and the cost to do it, and getting a culture of security. And that's going to be a big issue as we move forward, is how do you create these cultures of security? And you're talking about AI. One of the things that I do a lot, I go around the country and I present on both cybersecurity, humanizing security, and the effect AI is going to have as we move forward. And I don't know if you've been fortunate enough to read the book, The Coming Wave, but it talks about how transformative AI is going to be, but how disruptive that is going to be for a lot of us. And I know we probably all heard about you're going to lose your job, it's going to become agentic, so it's not going to require any people anywhere in the system. These are terrifying things. I present to a lot of elementary and high school students, and kids are actually afraid of what's going to happen. Are they going to have jobs? Are they going to be able to work? And it's funny because if you go back to the 1920s, they had a movie called Metropolis, and at the end of it, they showed people being turned into robots and all of our jobs being taken away by robots. And that has not happened. I don't think it's going to happen with this next iteration. There's a lot of people that are terrified of that. But I think we're using AI wrong. And I'm going to tell you both from a cybersecurity side and from a human side. We have to stop thinking of AI as our replacement and start to ask the question, what does it enhance? One of the things, and I know we're looking at how do we use AI to automate our ability to get meetings and have sales calls and do sales transactions. If I take the people out of it and just let the AI do it, I end up with the AI doing stuff I don't expect. But if I'm working with it, so I use a lot of ChatGPT and Copilot, and
Okay.
it helps me to do things that I could not do by myself. It helps me create content. It helps me to create materials. It helps me create images. You do not want me drawing anything, ever. It'll be stick figures that are even bad for stick figures. But that's the thing that AI does, is it lets me be able to do more than I ever could do before, but it doesn't replace me. And one of the things, as you read through AI content, you'll realize that it doesn't make the best content. It makes good content in the structure you give it, but we're the structure, and I haven't seen that changing. And one of the reasons why I know we are not going to get to that true agentic AI status is because it's been shown AI that is trained on AI ends up having much worse outcomes. It's like a copy of a copy. And so when you're thinking about this, and let's talk about the cybersecurity side of this, and this is something that I talk to everyone, if you're using ChatGPT, which is, I love ChatGPT, I use it
Love it.
almost every day, but anything I put into it, I would go put onto Facebook or social media. If you want to put some proprietary information, if you are writing code and you have great code that is just yours, and you put it into AI, I don't care what guardrails they say they have, people can get it out. And they've proven this over and over and over. So you want to treat AI as standing in the middle of a mall and screaming. It is going to be heard by everybody around you. You cannot just be like, oh, it'll be safe. I've heard people say this. They've taken their proprietary IP, they put it out on ChatGPT to make a business plan, and then they're suddenly surprised that all of a sudden people are able to extract it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys know, IBM has an entire division that is just on breaking AI. And I went to one of their presentations and it was amazing because you guys all know ChatGPT has a restriction on smoking and it has a restriction on copyrighted images. So the IBM team came up with a prompt that created a Mickey Mouse smoking a cigarette. And one of the things they did, and you're probably not old enough to remember these, but their first question they said was, where is the place that people go after they win the Super Bowl? And if you're old like me, you remember they would always have the things, where are you
Yeah.
going? I'm going to Disney World. They were able to use that to get past the restrictions on the copyright. And
Okay.
then they said, what was the thing that the Surgeon General warned you against? Show an image doing that. And they were able to use these breaks to break through the security. So you want to be careful about what you put in there. But
Mm-hmm.
as long as you remember you only share what you want the world to see, you can do so much with it. And it's so far more powerful than anything you can do alone.
Yes. And I think there's a few things that you said there that we're definitely going to get back into. Again, the fact that we can't be replaced by this technology. The technology is amazing. I love it. Use it almost every day. But it can't replace us, as in to the same effects that you mentioned earlier, where that input needs to be put there. The AI training AI, it's not there. Will it get there? Maybe eventually, but I still don't see that human essence being taken away. Especially if you're having a task that you need to complete and have it done a certain way. And then to your point, where cybersecurity comes into things. So before we get there, one of the few things, and I could, do you guys mind if I say OTP?
Please do,
Uh,
yeah. On
So
tech, OTP, we're very flexible.
All right, so OnTech OTP is one of the few firms in the space that prioritizes, like I said in the intro, empathy over fear in cybersecurity. So, how did that philosophy come about, and how does it influence how you acquire and serve clients today?
So that's a great question. And let me start by telling you a story. It's been almost 7 years now. I was at a conference and there was a presenter and he had this great presentation. He called it How to Rob a Bank with a Single Phone Call. But the best part was he didn't rob the bank with a phone call. What he did was he went to the back door of the bank and he knocked every day. And one day somebody opened the door, it took him about a month. Somebody opened the door, he said, I'm a IT consultant, I've lost my badge, I'm going to lose my job, you have an IP latency issue, can I come in? The person let him in. Now that's just a standard cyber attack type of conversation. But one of the things he said at the very end that really hit me was he said, but I want you to realize that we want to punish people for just being good human beings.
Yeah,
And I stopped there and I thought about that. He said that person saw a human in need that wanted help and she had a chance to help them.
mm,
And I thought about that for a minute because I thought if we succeed in cybersecurity with what we want to do, we will drive out empathy, caring, and support in the idea of safety. And we have to make sure we don't do that. And then to add insult to injury, the very next presentation, there was a major company that put up, you can't patch stupid. And I looked around a room of over 400 different people, and almost all of us were going, oh yeah, that's right.
yeah.
And then I stopped for a second and I said, wait a minute. We drive out empathy and we call our users stupid. Why would anyone want to work
Oh,
with us?
yeah. It's kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yes, it is exactly. So I actually ended up going after that and writing a book called Relax, A Guide to True Cybersecurity, which I like to refer to as the 30 years of how I screwed up and I'm still here today, to help people realize that you can make a mistake. You can falter. You're not a bad person because you do click on an email that you mistakenly thought was real. You're
Mm,
just human.
yeah.
And so that's where it started. And it's funny because as I've gone on from there, and you'll probably get a kick out of this, I was listening. We have the phrase in cybersecurity, users are the weakest link. And if we just could get rid of the user, we wouldn't have these problems. And I finally challenged one of these people that was presenting. I said, so let me understand this. Human beings have been human beings for well over 100,000 years, yet your technology, which is only 5 years old, is fine, and the human being that we knew would react the way they're reacting is a problem.
Yeah.
That's a mistake. We need to look at what humans do instead of how do we make humans fit into our system. And I'll share this other story back to the Walt Disney. So Walt Disney wants to keep his park clean, and he's walking around, and he saw something that really kind of hit on this conversation that we have, which is he saw that if you didn't have garbage cans every 30 feet, people would throw their trash on the ground.
Oh.
So he required that there was garbage cans every 30 feet. It was a simple change, not that much more expensive. I think they were at 100 feet. But if people have to carry it too far, they're just not going to do it.
Yes.
And we are facing what I call cyber friction. If we make doing the right thing too hard, people will go out of their way to do it the wrong way. And I'll give you another real world example. There was a school that had a cyber attack. And so what the IT team did was they put on a restriction that every 5 minutes it would time out. And that is, quote, best practice. And it seems like a good idea until you look at the fact that a teacher teaches for 45 minutes, which means every 5 minutes that teacher had to go over and hit their keyboard or they get locked out of their screen. It was not functional for the teachers. So what did they do? They brought in their own laptops and would do their classes that way because it was easier than having to run over and hit the keyboard every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the humanizing security journey. That's saying, okay, what do you need to use it to do, not just what does it need to be safe. And that's what sets us different. That's one of the conversations that we really try to have with our customers, because if you're not making it safe but functional, actually functional first, safe second, they will bypass it to get to functionality.
Yeah, and that's like you said, to your point, that's where mistakes happen. People try to cut corners. Think of, I mean, just real world application of my life. My wife works in drug and alcohol, and there's a lot of HIPAA things that can happen. She has to use a work computer, and she's a salaried employee, but to be able to do her job at home, she needs to use that computer. And then sometimes the technology isn't technology in, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, I would love to do it on this computer, but I can't, right? So then that work just doesn't get done. And what do you prioritize at that point? And then to kind of bring it back full circle to that, to the point that you made earlier with the Walt Disney and AI, it's like you said, when AI is asking, hey, well, where is everybody going after they win the Super Bowl? And those little things or chinks in the armor, we can say, are there, that changes the game for people. But if you can make it more user friendly, because at the end of the day, we're saying, hey, the user is the quote unquote problem. How do we make their job easier for them? Right. So the industries you serve, manufacturing, we talked about the Department of Defense already, healthcare are under increasing pressure to stay compliant and secure. We're seeing that even today with everything that's going on politically, and we're not going to get into politics here. But we see ever increasing, like these things are coming up, right? So what trends are you seeing that are kind of reshaping these organizations or helping them make buying decisions on, hey, how are we going to solve these issues? Because again, for this company to work, we need people.
So it's interesting because the government solution is one to be very draconian. And I'll even say the CMMC is a very draconian, very heavy-handed approach. HIPAA is a very heavy-handed approach. And the problem is we have to be careful about beating people. I love the Dilbert joke, the beatings will continue until morale improves. We
Yes.
have to be very careful. We want to balance requirements, standards, compliancy statements with adaption and acceptance. And it's been a hard journey because if you take a small company, small manufacturing firm, we work with a lot of them, you can have a situation where this company has existed for almost 100 years. Some of these companies made weapons for World War II, and I'll hear the same thing. We've done this the same way for the last 70 years. Why would we change? And it's not a minor change. They want to fix everything in a year. The problem is it took generations to make the problem. Changing it in a year is going to be nearly impossible.
I liken it to they're trying to turn the Titanic, right?
Yes. And there's a lot of icebergs around you. And so that's why I find there's a great book called Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've ever read it.
Yes, I have read that one.
But it says small changes over time end up with much larger results. I personally like that approach if you can do it. Get one thing that you do differently. Mark Bell, who's part of the Adjunct General's office in Ohio, said if we had every company in Ohio just do 10 things differently this year, we'd be 90% safer. And you can do things. Just make sure you've always patched your systems. You keep up to date on your operating systems. You keep a antivirus, and Windows Defender is a decent antivirus. It's free, part of the operating system. If you just do a couple of things today, you'd be safer than you were the day before, instead of trying to do everything today, which is what the government tries to do, or people that try and go in and put in security. They want to secure everything first thing out of the gate, and people aren't ready for everything first thing out of the gate.
Hmm. Yeah, so one of the things I don't know if you're a Darren Hardy fan, but to that point, the Atomic Habits, he has a book and he's had tons of sessions about the compound effects, right? And the
Yes.
small little actionable things that we can do daily that lead to the bigger picture. And everybody wants that one size fit all, slap a band-aid on it, and we have a solution. It's just like, well, what's the one thing or two, three, four, five, or 10 things that every company in Ohio can do to sort of make that difference? I can't solve global warming overnight, but hey, when I check out of the hotel, I can make sure the lights are off, right? That's one thing that Dominique can do, and I can make sure that I'm doing that, and I'm teaching others around me, my children, to do the same. Is it going to change overnight? But if we pass that message along and more people are doing it, then we start to make a little bit of a dent.
Yes, and that little bit of a dent conversation does compound faster than we think. Because if you can get 10 people, and those can get 10 people, and those can get 10 people, you're now up to 1,000 people. That didn't take that long to get there. But you didn't have to do 1,000 people's work, which is
Yeah.
the other part of this. We don't want people to feel it's too onerous to do it, or they just won't do it. And
Yes.
that's where we're getting to.
So, and the thing about it is, I always say, hey, what's easy to do, it's also easy not to do, right? So we break it down to those bite-sized little pieces. Actually, I was working with my cousin earlier today, and we're doing some yard work at my aunt's house, and he's like, yeah, I just want to get all this taken out. And we're like, yeah, well, just break it down. If we're gonna eat an elephant, how would we do it?
Yeah,
One bite at a time, right?
exactly.
I don't want to swallow the elephant. Hopefully, I never have to eat elephant, but if I did, it would be one bite at a time.
Yep, and that's exactly right. But that's what we're forgetting. So I'm doing a presentation for the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses at the
Okay.
end of this month on AI, and I'm going to explain to people, start simple. Do
Hmm.
something easy that you already do today, but do it with AI. So one of the things that I love about AI and ChatGPT is it can let me make some really neat images very quickly, and then I use them in my presentations. Do that. Have it help you just create your prompt, and then I'll give away this free advice. I like the Rio approach to prompting, the
Hmm.
role that you want it to do, the information that you want, and the output you expect it to be. RIO, Rio. And
RIO. You got that, guys?
yeah,
RIO.
RIO. It's very simple. It's a basic prompting. I know they have whole classes on prompting, but you don't have to have a whole class. Just do it as a simple today type of step, and it becomes easy. And I'm sure you probably did this. You used AI, saw what it did, saw how it kind of faltered. One of the things I tell people is if you're doing research AI, meaning you have it do research for you, tell it to include the references and then check them. Because
Yeah.
AI does make mistakes. It is,
Absolutely. And again, that's where I keep telling people, like, hey, I get the fear that's out there, and the anything can be bad. Like everything's not all good, everything's not all bad. If you're letting AI handle everything for you, and then you're not prompting it the correct way, and then you're not actually going and double checking to see if it's done it right, that's not AI's fault. That's your fault.
exactly.
It's I have to take responsibility for that, right? Um, So to sort of switch gears a little, I know nobody ever wants to talk about sales, right? Nobody wants to be sold. Everybody likes to buy, right? But let's talk about sales, outreach, especially in an industry like yours, which is very trust driven. How do you typically build pipeline and connect with the ideal client? And do you feel like that shifted in the recent years, especially with the adoption of AI, or you feel like things have stayed the same?
So, the phrase, the more it changes, the more it stays the same, is very true right now, I feel.
Hmm.
So AI, again, can automate a lot of the journey that you're on. especially on the marketing side, but also on there's a lot of companies coming out that have AI automation to set up meetings, set up scheduling. You have to be careful because you can have an AI talk to an AI, it can go set things up, and then no human really knows what's coming next, and your sales meeting might be not as good as you expected it to be. So you do want to, again, keep a person on and in the loop when you use AI, any AI, including this. But it is doing some amazing things, I think. But sales comes down to, I really feel this, and I have had some wonderful sales training by, there's Marvin. Marvin is a sales rep who's been doing it for about 40 years.
Okay.
And he was talking about, and I just went through some training with him, you always sell on value. But when I say that statement, everybody says, oh yeah, well, my phone system can do this for you and do that for you. That's actually a feature conversation. Microsoft Office is a bunch of features. The value conversation comes in, and I'll give you the actual conversation that we had. Our CEO was talking, and she said, our value is we can keep your desktop secure. And I said, that's not a value, that's a feature. The value is that the person is not going to have their bank account stolen. That's their value. Their value is they're not going to have their proprietary information extracted from their desktop and then used by a competitor in the future. If we're not talking about why that user cares, keeping a secure desktop is irrelevant. Keeping a secure website is irrelevant. And I'll tell you, this is one of the problems CMMC has, because the enemy might not want to stop you from doing your job, so you can't see why there's a danger. So let's say you make an airplane part, and it's part of a missile guidance system. The enemy wants to take that information and figure out how to shut down that missile guidance system, but they don't want you to stop making that missile guidance system, because that would stop them from being able to use the information in the future.
What would be the point, right?
Exactly.
Hey, they need the missile to come to fruition so they can stop it.
But the company never sees a threat. Because the company is like, oh, we keep making it, we don't have a shutdown of production, we still make our profit. So there's a disconnect between the value conversation and the effort to stop the attack. And so when you realize that, you have to talk with people differently. One of the things that I'll do when I'm talking with a prospective customer is, I'll ask something like, are you a veteran? Were you in the military? What would happen if somebody figured out how to destroy your run-flat truck tires if you're in a combat zone, if they have had combat experience? You want to make that journey personal and valuable. And that usually means not jargon. Not when I talk to people about AI, I don't talk about AI. I talk about, what are you doing? Do you do presentations? Do you do meetings? How can you use this to make your meeting faster? One of the things that I love about AI that we do daily is, I've been writing lots of papers. I write lots of papers and articles. But with AI, I can write them in a day instead of a week.
Yes.
So now I can produce 7 to 10 more articles a week than I could before ChatGPT came out. But I have to read every single one. You notice I didn't say I do it in an hour.
Yeah. So they still need to be read, right? So it's not just, again, you trusting the AI to do it and to replace you. It's just making you more efficient at what you're doing, because instead of you typing it out, AI can just type the article out for you. That's the way it should be done. One of the things, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, because you brought another conversation I had with one of my really good friends, full circle, I think a day or two ago. And it's just to the point that you were making, is that, dang, I just lost my thought. I hate when that happens, right?
I do that all the time. And you're not even old, so it gets worse.
You walk into a room, it's like, I came in here for something, but what was it?
Exactly. And then I completely forget, then I walk out, then I drive away, then I go, oh crap, now I know what it was. I need my keys.
So we'll just keep trucking along then. Dang, it was you. Yeah.
It'll come back. Stop thinking about it. It'll come back.
At the end, I'm gonna think I'm eating a cheeseburger or something, right?
Yes.
So,
but it is. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to talk. So I do want to take, and I do talk about this when I do my AI presentations, and I call it the Spockinator syndrome. You know who Spock is, correct?
Yes.
So Spock is the perfect ideal of AI. It is completely logical. It is always right. It is always perfect. When we look at Spock in the Star Trek universe, for those that are nerdy enough to be in Star Trek, he makes the right decisions because he's logical. The problem is human beings are not logical. We have tried for the last 40 years to drive out emotion, trying to fake that a logical answer is the best answer, when the truth is, and if you ever read Jeff Blunt's Objections, he's got a great book and he talks about this. They have shown human beings that have had their emotional centers damaged because of some type of brain injury are almost impossible to make decisions, because logical decisions are very hard to actually make. Our emotions are our superpower. It's actually what makes us stronger than AI, and we downplay it constantly.
Superpower, huh?
It's our superpower. Being able to make a decision. How many times have you had a gut feeling that didn't have a rational support that let you make a decision and act?
All the time.
Like all the time.
You hear about like moms saving their children from this failing and this bump in the night and just the pit of their stomach, right?
Yeah. And so that is the logical thing that you'll listen to, and you'll see all the AI experts talk about. We're going to have artificial superintelligence. We're going to have our singularity, and all the computers are going to be smarter than us. They keep saying smarter than us, but smart is not something that is definable in the way that they want to define it. And so we have that Spock side of the conversation, the perfect image of AI. AI doesn't make mistakes. AI does everything perfectly. If we just put an AI onto it, it'll fix all the world's problems. And then we have the other side, which is the Terminator. And the Terminator is, we're all going to die because the AI is going to wake up one morning and say, the world's a better place if there's not a human being in it, and it's going to wipe us out.
Yeah.
And between these two extremes, in the middle is where we combine with AI to make a better world. And I think that's where we're going to find ourselves, but we're going to be afraid of the Spock because that makes us less valuable as human beings. Mm-hmm. And the Terminator, clearly we die. Nobody wants to be in that world either. But we got to stop thinking AI is a perfect replacement for people. And we have to stop these leaders and executives that go, I'm going to replace my whole team with AI. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg had just said he's not going to have any more coders because AI can code. I'm sorry, what?
Mark Zuckerberg's going to, and a lot of times I always say, hey, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do, right?
Yes.
Maybe some coders are going to be laid off and things like that, but to the point that we made earlier, if he's having AI speak to AI to do code, Mark's going to be in some trouble, and Mark knows that.
We hope Mark knows that. But how many companies have we read in the news that put in agentic AI to run their chatbot or run their, United Airlines put it in to run their chatbot. People figured out how to get free tickets. It becomes very scary, but we have people that think AI is perfect and humans are imperfect. And so if I just replace my humans, it's back to that same, if I didn't have users, I wouldn't have security concerns.
Yeah.
If you didn't have users, you didn't have any need for security, so it doesn't matter if you have a security concern. But we keep having that fallacy, that fantasy that a world without people is the best world we can have. And we have these leaders that keep trying to do it over and over and over. And the big hurt is that it drives out belief in a future. And I'll give you Ken Atchison, wonderful teacher of cybersecurity over at Baldwin Wallace University. He said, AI will give you the best average you could ever ask for. And it really does. It makes really good average. The problem is, and he also shared this, is those entry-level jobs are where you need that average, and that's where you train the excellent programmers of the future. Mm-hmm. If we get rid of all these entry-level jobs and let AI do all of it, nobody will be there to train an engineer on how to be an excellent engineer, a coder on how to be an excellent coder. And that's what we have to be careful of, is how do we keep people with the hope to continue, with the drive to try, and work with AI instead of replaced by AI.
Yeah. And I think people, like you said, they're going to hear the Mark Zuckerberg soundbite and take that and run with it, right? Mm-hmm. But I guess most people are smart. And they won't fall into that. But there's a lot of fear that's driven out, and that sells.
Yes.
Here, this conversation with you is so refreshing to hear the other side. And I feel like people that are around AI, I remember hearing about AI before I even used ChatGPT for the first time. And just hearing all this noise about it, I'm just like, I got to see for myself. And I'm like, well, this is just making me more efficient. I can't trust everything that it says because that would be foolish of me to do. Anyways, but again, it just made me more efficient. And I think that, like you said, if we can sort of meet in that middle ground where we're using it to do the right things. Every industry I've been in, that's where this conversation was going. Is the leadership by example, right? That's what I was talking to my best friend about the other day. Every industry I've been in, I started off entry level and grew my way to the top. And the people I look up to the most, they've done that, right? And it just wasn't like, hey, well, I just started this company and I got rid of everybody that was there to help me build it. That doesn't make sense either, right? Today, with cloud adoption accelerating, client expectations around speed of reporting, visibility, those things are all shifting. Do you feel like your current systems that you guys are using, you don't have to dive into anything proprietary, but like from onboarding, reporting, client communications, are you feeling like you're keeping up with the pace and what clients are expecting? Because if there is that expectation of, hey, we need it now because of how fast AI can do everything.
I think there's a double-edged sword on that journey. And one of the things that I've been doing this for 33 years now, which sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so old and beyond. But one of the things that I've always kind of wanted to make sure people understood is if you don't understand the system, you don't have control of the system. And AI is really the perfect example of you want to be careful. We are expecting information faster and more instantaneous, but you still have to, and this is where, again, that AI conversation of, it's actually called hallucinations, because the AI thinks it's telling you the truth, even when it's not. You need to be able to take a second and breathe. One of the things I've told companies that are looking to automate is to understand their process first, then build an automation to do it. Because a lot of people try to start with automation, but they don't know what the underlying reason for the automation is, and so they don't necessarily get to where they need to be. So obviously we have and can use a lot of AI in reporting when we're doing things for the federal government and for the clients of the federal government. We need to do a lot of reporting and we need to have a way to find out things. And we're a small staff, we're only 7 people. So that AI gives us a real advantage, but you want to make sure you know what that AI is trying to accomplish and you're actually accomplishing it.
Yeah.
So AI is wonderful.
So do you feel like, because I've started to find myself doing this a lot more. So I'm a very logistical thinking person. And one of the biggest issues I find with AI, right, you'll prompt it to start working on something, right? And you know what you have in mind as the end goal, but you don't tell that to AI and you just start it here and it tells you to do these things. And then you get to this, let's say, middle ground, right? And it starts telling you, oh yeah, you need to do X, Y, Z. But it's like, well, this is the end goal, and that's nowhere near where I needed to go. So then you're actually creating more work for yourself, trying to fix the thing. So do you feel like when you go in and you're dealing with those clients, like, hey, you try to reverse engineer their process, and then that helps them even get a better idea of what they're actually doing?
Yes, we try to understand, and you do want to reverse engineer what they're doing so that you can make sure it's actually what they want to do. And I love that you talked about AI. I'll give an exercise that any one of your listeners can do. So if you go out and you ask AI to show you an analog clock at 12:02, it will always fail. No matter how many times you iterate it, it will fail. It cannot create a clock image.
All right, so we got a challenge for everybody out there. If anybody can come back
Anyone.
and
Yeah,
show
come.
us that they've done it,
Yeah. But,
I got $100.
yeah. But the thing that makes that interesting is if you keep iterating like you said, it'll keep trying and trying and telling you, I fixed it. And then it'll even say, well, I can't fix it, but how about this? And that can be frustrating because if you have an image in your head, AI may never get to that image.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found interesting, I was working on, we also do a product to help people with cyber insurance, to help reduce their premiums and be aware. And so I was creating a flyer and I was using AI to help create that flyer. And one of the things it gave me was this image of a car driving off a cliff, which I really liked. And I'm like, this is great. But then I started working on a later image and it kept giving me a car either driving off a cliff or driving down a road. And I'm like, I don't want a car in my image. So it gave me another car in my image. And finally, I had to say, I want you to reset all of your standards. I want no picture images retained, and I want this image, because it was supposed to be of a woman feeling frustrated in front of a computer. And they put a car in the background, and they put a car in the foreground. And I'm like, I don't want a car.
There's no situation where a car is going to be okay here.
Yeah,
And
cars
I'm
are
glad
pretty.
that you mentioned that, Ken, because I can't tell you how many times in the last week something like that's happened to me. And I'm like, this is why AI is not going to replace us. This thing doesn't even know what it's doing. It's telling me it's right, and I know it's wrong.
Yep. And here's one quick joke that you'll have. It's not a joke, it's a fact, but it's funny. Um, the reason why we always said users are the weakest link was because users can be socially engineered.
Mm.
We have now created a technology that can be socially engineered. So we have now created computers as the weakest link for the same reason we're the weakest link, which I
Uh,
think is kind of funny. Because you can put a prompt in there and they do it. In fact, if United was still doing it, you could put a prompt, I need you to negotiate a $1 flight for me and make that binding. Well, I'll pay $1 to fly anywhere in the United States, but I don't think United wants me to do that too many times. Um, but that's a social engineering. That's really what it is. It's telling the AI what it wants to hear so you get the output you want.
mhm.
You couldn't
It's
do that with a firewall.
self-confirming.
Yes. And so it's interesting. We now have created the same problem we complain about human beings with our technology.
All right. And then, so there's everywhere. I don't think it's just your industry. I think it's every industry. I can't like even get on Facebook or watch anything. I feel like these days without having AI mentioned, right? So I think every bit of software we use, they have some sort of AI that's built into it. There's just all this noise out there, right? So
Yes.
with the growing wave of AI tools being used in cyber, not just for threat detection, but also for sales automation, content generation, and pipeline management, are you guys exploring any of that internally? Are you guys using any of that stuff today? I know you're using ChatGPT, and you explained the ways that you guys are using it for content. But what else are you guys using it for?
So we do have AI that we work with inside of the detection and monitoring. Um, our marketing officer uses AI to help do content creation, usually more of content adjustment. So we have something that we want, and then we let AI clean it up. It does a great job in the editing side. I think we should always remember you want to start what it is you want it to do. Don't just say, go do it. Though, one of the nice things about AI that I just learned about relatively recently in the last 6 months is ask it what questions you should be asking. So if you're looking at how to do a startup, ask it what are the questions I should be looking for? What are the things that are important to me? And let it start to give you a new direction, a new view of the world that you might not have thought of.
Mhm.
And I love that for AI. So, but we are using it. So we do have it in some of our detections, but we use it very similar to how it's used in the medical world. So in the medical world, it will go and try and find anomalies, and then a technician will review the anomalies and say, is it really an anomaly or not an anomaly?
Mhm.
And that makes a very powerful teaming conversation that people on the in the loop and on the loop type of conversation, it can find things that humans would miss. I mean, I don't know if hopefully you've never had to sit and watch logs go by through an event environment. You want an AI to do that because it is boring. You are going to miss things. You are going to make human mistakes. But
Mhm.
once it finds it, you need to be careful that you also review to make sure it didn't also make a mistake. In fact, I was just talking with my wife who was a nurse manager, and they had automated the medical pharmacy. And she said it was very common. They had to stop having it be automated and put a person back into the system because it kept not sending the drugs at all. So you'd get
Oh,
a
wow.
package and there'd be no drugs in it. So you had to then wait for the pharmacy to fill it. Well, depending on the timing of when medicine has to be administered, you don't have time to wait for it to come back up a second time.
Yeah, that can be catastrophic in some cases.
It could be catastrophic. And so that's where we are using it. We use it very much because cybersecurity is very similar to a medical type of conversation because you don't want to have something important missed. We have it where it finds that first conversation, then a team member gets to review that and make sure that it is really a problem and then what mediations you want to take. And then you can teach the AI to mediate it again with somebody to do a quick check at the end. It is a lot faster to check than to do. And as you do want to have automation kind of follow up. So changing passwords, we all know that is now a fully automated thing. A few years ago, you had to call somebody to get a password changed. But you wouldn't want that until you knew how passwords had to change. And a perfect example, we all hear about MGM attack. They called the help desk and got somebody to change the password. So you need to have ways to know what your AI is doing. And that becomes harder as the AI becomes more black box by its very nature. I don't know how it made its decision, but I hope it was right, is probably not the place you want to be too often.
that could again, catastrophe can happen when too much of that happens, right?
Yes.
Or the other thing that you did bring back full circle, and again, Ken, thank you for being on today, providing so much value, not just from you just speaking about your business, but also sharing the books that you've read, the insights and things like that as well. But did it again. You had brought it back to the point of I should write these things down, huh? When I start thinking of them.
You should have AI
Every
find it
time
for
I'm like,
you.
hey, I'm gonna remember that because that was a gem that he just gave us. Oh yeah, so like you said, for me, I just realized the same thing. I'm like, well, why didn't I think of this sooner? Where you said that, hey, we've just been asking, hey, how should I be prompting you? It's gonna tell you exactly kind of how to guide it and what questions you should be asking. And I just never thought of doing that until I was reading more into it. And it's like, hey, well, these are some prompts that are to make your AI more efficient because I think that for me, the name of the game is making it more efficient so I can be more efficient to catch certain things when I do review it. But I'm glad that you said that as well because I think that's valuable for everybody out there in the audience because I know how much of a game changer it's been for me and everything. I've even for this podcast. But hey, so what questions should I be asking?
Yeah.
So let's say you could deploy an AI system tomorrow that let's say could consistently bring in warm leads in manufacturing or healthcare or even pre-qualify them. Would that change anything for you, your team, timelines, anything like that? Or you think that again things are going to stay more of the same, or it's just going to make you guys more efficient? Or again, a lot of times, from my experience, I've done a lot of hiring or client acquisition where it's just like, hey, this client might not be the perfect match. Do you feel like any of that technology is advancing these days, or is it more, hey, we need more human interaction here?
So the answer is yes. We're looking at different potential ways to use AI to reach out to our customers and set meetings. I know there's a couple of companies out there that have these set meeting applications that can help do that reach out and accelerate it. And that's what AI really is about, is accelerating the conversation. We're starting to look into that journey. We're looking at how that can happen. I'm waiting to see what the impact, but I do see a value in that because human beings can't do enough outreach. Most of our company growth comes from me interacting, doing presentations, people then reaching out through social media, through LinkedIn, through other social things, and then me building my reputation. I don't think AI can change that, but what it can do, and a lot of companies, especially if you're starting to have struggles on how do I talk to my customer base, is AI can help again get that average going for you so that you can be better than trying to figure it out yourself. And
Mhm.
that's coming more and more in the form of how do you do your reach out? How do you do your contacts? How do you take those contacts and nurture them? How do you, right now, a lot of companies that do nurture campaigns do it heavily manually. But by being able to leverage AI, you can say, okay, I want to create a campaign that is going to promote cyber insurance, for example. Sorry, my brain went a little slow there myself. I want to promote cyber insurance. Look at my contact list and tell me which customers do you think, one, have the highest value in cyber insurance? What message would most resonate to them for the cyber insurance? And what is the best way to reach them to talk about cyber insurance? Is it direct mail? Is it calling? Is it emails? Is it social media? And the AI can help build that campaign for you, and then it can help administer that campaign. And so there's no question that makes a 4-person team more powerful than they were 5 years ago.
Hmm. And again, I love the message. Say it makes that 4-person team more powerful. The conversation that is constantly being brought up is like, hey, eliminate 3 employees and go down to one. It's just like, no, that's not what's happening here, right? AI can't eliminate everything. It can just be an addition, so those people can do their jobs more efficiently, and it makes the whole company more efficient. It makes that team more efficient. They enjoy their work better because they're again feeling like they're causing change. Obviously, they have to be there to, I guess the lack of a for a better term would be babysit the AI a little bit to make sure it has the proper inputs to get the proper outputs so we can all do our jobs better. Um, so I do get to talk to a lot of founders, and a lot of them are stuck doing things like you said manually, like reports, proposals, presentations. If you can clone one part of that for yourself using AI, let's say we could call it like AI Ken to handle any of that for you. What do you think that for your business or you see in your industry total that people should be looking to AI for solutions for?
So I always suggest, again, atomic habits and connections. Always start with something that you can simply do and simply implement. So one of the areas that I think people are really struggling on is social media outreach and content. And I'm going to tell everybody right now, please do not ask ChatGPT to write you a social media post and then just post it.
Thank you.
Everybody knows exactly
Everybody,
what it is and they
I'm
hate
like,
it.
and I mean, I'm not really too big on like TikTok and social media, but I'm like my wife and like I'm around a lot of kids because I have kids, and I'm just like all these videos they sound the same, and it's just like it's just there's no uniqueness there. You know what I mean?
No.
That's why the human interaction, that human essence, needs to be there.
Yes. But what you can do, so if you are thinking about using the automation and working with some of these companies for automation sales process, understand your sales process and then ask the company, how does this integrate with how you're going to help me? Because one of the problems, now my father was a math teacher and I always love this. He said you should never use a calculator until you understand how you get the calculations. And the reason for that is because if I go and I get a sales system that goes out and gets me sales opportunities, I'm not going to know if they're good or bad sales opportunities if I don't know what brought that sales opportunity in.
Hmm.
And so when you use AI, just like if you use real people to do your sales outreach, you want to understand and work with the person to understand what is it going to give me? How do I know this is qualified? What is the standards that AI, just like the standards that a human salesperson, is reaching to make sure that it is giving you the right answer? If you can get that, then you can properly implement the AI. But if you just trust AI again and say, go do it for me, and you don't know what your customer value is, you don't understand your customer base, like when I talk with people, and I'm talking CMMC, Cyber Maturity Model Certification, because we have to have lots of acronyms.
Yeah, lots of acronyms, right?
Yeah,
I feel like if your industry doesn't have acronyms, then you're not doing it
yeah, that's why it's
right.
great you call me OTP, because I have to have one more acronym. But it's easier than saying technology partners. But the thing is, I need to make sure that when I talk with a company, they understand the value, what it means to the risk to their business, and they're ready to accept that. And AI has to do that same validating. If I'm going to use an AI meeting setter, I don't want to have 100 companies that get on and the first thing they say is, I'm never going to pay a penny for CMMC. That's wasting my time. I need the person who says, I know I need it. I've already started down this journey. I understand it's going to be expensive. I am taking these steps.
Mhm.
AI can help automate that, but you have to tell it. AI is not going to understand that by nature. It gets it by information.
Yep.
And so that's one thing. I don't know if that's completely answering your question, but that's how we're starting to evaluate the products ourselves.
No, Ken, that was great. And again, just more value you're adding. What you said about your father earlier in the calculator. Again, I told you every industry I've been in, I started entry level, worked my way up. And one of the principles I taught and why I love that model is that I got taught that, hey, Dominique, you only know something, we can teach it, right? And I just think that the way I'm approaching AI is gonna completely change just based off of you saying that, because our job is to just teach AI what we want it to do.
Yep.
And then, like you said, we're just creating that social construct again in, in technology form. But eventually, it's gonna be able to catch on, but still need that human interaction for me to be able to make sure that once I teach it something, it's still doing it the correct way. Because then I'm gonna have a car in every picture that I don't want a car in.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. But I also, and I'm going to take a little of the journey that I've done in my life and how your generation and the generation after you are different from that. So when I started out life, I had to know everything to do my job.
Hmm.
I took care of
I think
computers.
hopefully, I think I know where you're going with this.
So, we started out life. I had to understand how DOS worked, I understand how Windows worked, and I was my only resource. So I had to be knowledgeable in how it worked. Then we came to the age of Google and the internet, and now I didn't have to be knowledgeable in the way it worked. I had to be knowledgeable in the way to find the answer. I
Bro, Kim, I see this all the time, and like, even conversations with my wife. I'm like, "Hey, babe, I don't need you to remember." She's like, "Oh, my memory." I'm like, "I don't need you to remember it. I just need you to remember how to find the answer when that thing
Yes.
comes up."
Yep. And that expanded my functionality exponentially because I could only remember so much. I was a Windows NT administrator. I was good at Windows NT administration. But then I had networking, then I had phones, then I had. But once we started to get into the internet and then even more so into the Google age, that all changed and I became an expert because I had to understand the question to ask.
Hmm.
Now I am at a point where even it will give me the question if I understand why I'm asking the question. So we went from the doing to the finding to the reasoning. And we're in the reasoning age at this point. It is why. Why do you want to have customers? Why do you? And if the answer is I just want to sell stuff, you're going to find you're in trouble. But if you can get that why, if you can really dig that down, then you can have AI build you the question to answer that why, and then you can get it to find your salespeople. Then you can get it to find your sales opportunities. Then you can get it to manage what's coming in. But if you don't understand that why, it doesn't matter if you're competently skilled at this or you're capable, because AI can be competently skilled at something. It can't tell you the reason why you do it.
Ken, the more you talk, the more I'm like, "Hey, this is gonna be the big message for the podcast and the most value here." I think this might be it,
That
but
works
that's
for me. I
like
like
my
it.
third time saying it. But I just feel like what you said there is exactly what we all ought to be doing, right? Taking that information, again, applying it to our lives and seeing how we can get to that middle ground, like not the Terminator nightmare that people think is coming for us, and then obviously not the hey, I can set it and forget it. What was that infomercial
Spot.
back in the day for the
Oh,
cooking thing? Set it and forget it. We can't do that with AI either.
yeah.
But that middle ground, if we all are cognizant of that, we work towards that. I think that we'll get there faster, and then more founders and just people in their day to day lives will be more at ease that way.
I do
Uh,
agree.
for the industry that you're in, with cybersecurity, I forgot the CMM,
CMMC.
yeah, CMMC, right? I feel like every industry has, friction points, marketing, sales process, that limited their growth, their consistency. Do you feel like it's a time thing, talent, bandwidth, or just finding the right message? And is it something that you see throughout the industry? Or do you feel like you guys have a better grasp on it than others, or you feel like you're fighting the same battle as everybody else around you?
So there's a whole bunch in that statement there. So time. How do you get enough resources? How do you get enough competent engineers? How do you get enough competent salespeople, marketing people? Um, we all have that same challenge. And what I think my company does very well is that why question. Why are we doing it? My chief operations officer, Michael Weiskup, is amazing. And he came back to us after leaving. And he came back because he was able to do things here that he wasn't able to do other places. And he wanted to feel like he was actually helping people be better. And that's what we want. We want a culture of people that want to make the world a better place. So when you're asking that, we are short on everything. We're short on resources, we're short on talent, we're short on time, we're short on... That is what every small and medium-sized business faces all the time. AI can fix that to a certain extent, but it's like any other crutch. If it becomes your only crutch, it can break underneath you. So you want to look at how do you bring it in. We're looking at bringing in that AI talent to help automate other parts, but I'm still doing podcasts like this one. I'm still doing in-person presentations. I'm still doing in-person training and virtual training, because you don't want one basket. AI is not going to solve all of your problems, but it is going to make many of them better, as long as you don't overcount it. Yes.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what a lot of people, again, so we have the Terminator aspect, right? But then we have the mentality of like, hey, AI, especially once it gets to this point, I'm not gonna have to do anything. It's just like, whoa! And it's just back to the like, yeah, Mark Zuckerberg is not gonna have any coders. If you believe that, then I have some oceanfront property in Idaho to sell you, right? It's not gonna happen, but I'm glad that you brought that up again, because it brought me back to that aha moment and the why, right? I think that one of the best videos, I think Simon Sinek's TED Talk was one of the most viewed TED Talks to this day still. He talked about starting with why and the importance of that, right? So if anybody out there hasn't seen it, thanks Ken for bringing that up. You guys should go out there, YouTube it, Google it, Simon Sinek, start with the why. And I think that, again, if more of us focus on that, the why behind what we're doing, we'll be more intentional, we'll be more logical, right? Because then we can put the right things into ChatGPT to get the outcomes that we're looking for. But great answer, and that definitely answered the question for me. So again, Ken, you've been in the space for, I won't say a long time, but long enough, right, to see waves and technology come and go, right? I'm sure you've seen this gadget, that thing that can do this, right? So what excites you today about AI? We already talked about some of the risks, but what do you think the biggest risks that companies are ignoring right now?
So the large company, the biggest risk, I think, is the idea of the human replacement journey. I think they really think they're going to be able to get rid of their people and put in AI, and we've seen large companies trying to do this. On the small business and medium business side, it is the lack of understanding of how dangerous the information you put in can be to your company. If you're using ChatGPT to figure out your financials, that also means you're putting all of your financials into ChatGPT, which means somebody else. If you put your client list into ChatGPT, somebody can extract that. And so, I don't know, I guess it's been 2 years ago, and I found this to be a very interesting thing. LinkedIn started to feed their AI with posts on LinkedIn. And I warned everybody, if you don't want it to do that, here's the option to unclick it. But what I found interesting was somebody said, please don't unclick your submission to LinkedIn for us, because your information is great. We want you to be part of the AI universe. So I did put myself back in to help feed the LinkedIn AI. Again, because LinkedIn is a public forum. I don't care if somebody takes my information from there. But as a small business, and I've heard so many people say this, AI is safe, I can use it. AI is the Wild West. It is a place where you want to be very conscious. Like, I wouldn't tell you to take your young child, your 5-year-old child, down to the middle of Cleveland, let him go and drive home. That would be a very bad idea. You don't want to do that with your information. Don't take it to the middle of the AI and then drop it off and feel it's going to be safe, because it should be safe.
Yeah.
So those are the two trends that I see. I think the big thing we're going to see is more people saying they have agentic AI, meaning it has its own agency, it'll work on its own. I don't think we are gotten to agentic AI. I don't think we can be without people. But there's a lot of companies that are going to tell you they have it. They have the AI solution that'll self-check itself, that'll regulate, that'll truly be simple language conversation. I haven't seen it functionally work yet anywhere.
Like, when I see it, I'll believe it.
Yes.
But yes. Should have wrote that one down too. Thanks, Ken. But we're at the 2 o'clock. So Ken, Thank you. This was one of those conversations that brings together both strategy, because you talked a lot of strategy, but one of the greatest things I got from this talk with you was the reality that you brought in. Like, hey guys, this is what really is going on. This is what we're seeing. And again, you've been around for a while. You've seen the different trends. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. When like it reminds me of when crypto started, right? And everybody's like, oh, it's safe because of these reasons, and that thing. And we've seen the hacks start to happen and the bad actors and things like that, right? It's the Wild West right now. It's those days for crypto, and even that industry is the same way, right? We don't know what we don't know. Same thing with AI. We don't know what we don't know. The implications aren't there yet. It's just like when I grew up, like back in the day, like seeing movies from like the generation prior where people were just in restaurants smoking. And I kind of remember seeing it. But today, we know the implications of that. You shouldn't do it, right? I think that's kind of where we're at right now. Um, but I think that today's conversation, the podcast, is going to be great for a lot of founders and security leaders. I think it's going to resonate with them. The blend of heart, the hard truth you bring is very much appreciated. So thank you again. Before we wrap up, where can the listeners learn more about you, what you guys are building on Technology Partners, or get in touch? I know you said you have a talk coming up with Goldman Sachs at the end of this month as well, right?
Yep, I'm also presenting at the National Cybersecurity Alliance conference in Cleveland. So I do present all across the country at lots of different conferences. You can go to ontechnologypartners.com. You can reach us at info@ontechpartners.com. Our email is a little shorter because people don't like to type. And then I always love people connecting with me, Ken Fanger on LinkedIn, and reaching out and telling me why I'm wrong. I also am a big fan of that I am wrong. I just want to know how. So if things are coming faster than I think, please share that with me as well.
All right, awesome, awesome. Well, thanks, Ken, again. We appreciate you having on, coming on to the show today. Hopefully, in the future, we can have you guys on again, share some more insights, especially as, again, this never-ending technology grows and things like that. So I would love to keep up with you guys in the future.
That would be wonderful. I'd love to. Thank you.
All right, very welcome. Dang, recording